Let's talk about stage 3. Stage 3 is half of organizations, and we see this a lot in professional services. We see this where the people who are in charge are people who know stuff. So stage 3 is, I'm great. And I've got the training and the education and the background and the experience to know what I am doing. So I'm great. There's another part of that, which is, and you're not. I'm great, you're not. I'm great, you're not. I'm great, you're not. And you're not. I'm still great. So stage 3 is really where the person in charge is the person who has the most information. They have the most influence, and they can tell you this is how you're going to do it. So you emulate the leader as a follower, because that's a survival technique. This is where basically the leader is not only the enabler of the team, but also a limiting factor. There's a pattern with stage 3 leaders. The most frequently used words are I, me, and my. In my opinion, in my experience, I'll tell you what you need to be doing. Well, if you ask me, it is a very egocentric way of showing up. Stage 3 is where excellence lives, where competency lives. You have to be good at something to be stage 3. Now, here's the interesting part of stage 3. Stage 3 leaders kind of make things stage 2 for the other people. Remember, I'm great and you're not. So I'm going to make sure life's not so great for you. But it's going to be great for me. But that's okay because I'm great. That would never happen.
The whole band would be fired immediately.
However, let's go into this for a second. Thank you for playing along. Literally, I've never meant that literally. So let me ask you, gentlemen, knowing that your training and your habit and the way you've shown up, like you only get invited to play in Dr. McCurdy's band if you reach a certain standard. So what made it possible for you to do that level of awful performance? What did you turn on? What did you turn off? What adjustments did you make? And just, well, let's go one at a time, and then we'll first of all, wonderful answers. The first thing you did is you turned off listening. Anyone been in a meeting like that where the person that you're talking to isn't listening? I have teenage daughters. They are wonderful human beings. They've never done that to me.
Yeah, right.
The other thing, and you said it so well, which was not only were you not listening, you were looking for the entry point to go bigger and louder. So it's like you're listening, but you're listening for them to take a breath, for you to go, oh, now it's my turn. And in real life, that's number one, not listening. Number two, listening as a form of waiting to say something as opposed to really listening. And more often than not, that's what an interruption is. So if you've been in a meeting where somebody just, like, yeah, I know what you're going to say, Ron. Hey, let me interject. And you're like, so not only were they not listening, they didn't even need to listen to you to know what you were going to say. It's very disempowering. It's very stage 3. So they're great. You are not. They don't have to listen to you because they already know what you're going to say. It's not going to be as good as what they have to say. Now, the great part about this is you all had a hard time getting there. Like, we had to change the rules of engagement for you all to get there. And this is an important part. Stage 2 to stage 3, we actually have to let them know they're good at something. Like, you have to build on the capability of the individual so that they get to stage 3 where they're good at something. To get from stage 3 to stage 4, the first thing, and we'll talk about what stage 4 is, but the first thing you need to do is get them to listen. Get them to appreciate what the other person's bringing. All right, stage 4. Stage 4 is we're great. Notice the pronoun has changed. Stage 3, I'm great, you're not. Stage 4, we're great, they're not. We have moved the competition outside of the team. So now we are collectively better than than any one individual can be, but we're still competing against other groups, other people, but we're better than they are. So there's team camaraderie here. This is only about 22-ish% of the teams that are out there. And this is where you see diversity really being a benefit. This is where people can take the skills and the experiences and the lived lessons from each person and turn that into something better than what was their default position. This is where diversity becomes a skill and a strength that drives the group further than they could have gone on individually. There are a couple of areas where you actually don't see diversity at stage 4, and that is we all agree on the same values. We all agree on the same core commitments that we make that inform who we are. So we have, of the group up here, I would ask, is listening an important skill in how you do what you do? Yeah? What would happen if we introduced a band member who thought listening was overrated? Yeah, thanks so much for playing. Literally leave. That's where we see diversity not really helping us. That when we disagree on some core fundamental values that are key to how we operate as a team, that diversity is like sand or grit in the gears. When we agree on those core values, that listening is important to an improvisational jazz band, then what each of us brings to that can be heard and used in service of listening, in service of making the band better, in service of that vision that we've established as to what we want to be great at. So stage 4 is where you see collaboration. Now, the image that I have on your screen, here, I'm going to play it. There's no sound on it. But this is a great example. This is a story that came out at the very beginning of COVID where in this scene you see a bunch of ER workers, I think it's in Italy, where they are applauding this gentleman who is in the doorway. And what they're doing is they're recognizing the contribution of this gentleman and who he is a taxi driver. And they kept talking to patients like, how'd you get into the ER? Like, how'd you get here? And they would say, well, this taxi driver came and got me and dropped me over here and didn't charge me anything because I was a COVID patient. And when they kept hearing this story of this taxi driver, the ER team said, we've got to recognize and celebrate this person for doing what he's doing, because without him, we can't treat these patients. So the guy with what probably is the least, he's probably not the highest trained medical professional compared to the people in the ER, but the people in the ER recognize the contribution he does make. And they celebrate the contribution he does make, not only in his role, but he typically goes, like most stage 4, you go beyond your role. It's not just about you, it's about the team, and how can I help the team be better? That's what stage 4 requires, and that's what stage 4 engenders. And what I loved is when we asked you to play stage 3, it was really hard for you to do it. And that's what happens when you get comfortable at stage 4, which is you just go, well, isn't everybody like this? Isn't this how things should be? And it gets really hard to not be stage 4, even at a time when you might need to be stage 3. So it was a great demonstration of how hard it was for you to not be to be into teamwork when we said don't be into teamwork. So part of being in stage 4, once you've found it, once you've found your groove in it, it becomes your default position. Well, isn't this what every one of my teams should be like? Well, yeah, but it probably takes a little bit of work to get there. So with that, I'd like to ask you, what does stage 4 sound like? So you all met when?
Tonight.
Tonight. Like rewind about an hour ago, and y'all were like bumping elbows, like, "Hi, nice to meet you." So what I'm gonna do, Ron, we're gonna go back to the slide on the mechanics of improvisation.
All right.
And I'd like to ask you to kind of break down how that, the elements. I'll talk about the environment, but then I'd like to ask the musicians, like, how did that all work? How did you make that happen? So you'll hear what Ron says and what I say, but we'd like you to add what really happens, as opposed to the, two theorists on it.
Well, first of all, as we said earlier, we all speak the same language. We have the vocabulary to be able to express. Now, I kind of threw the band a little bit of a curveball because I didn't tell them what we were going to play. Like I just started playing a little bump, 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 and then saying, what song is that? And then, oh, wait a minute, that sounds a little bit like the lick that Clifford Brown played on I'll Remember April. And then Max came in, and then Aaron figured out, okay, I got it. And then Colin came in with the rhythmic groove. Now that worked because A, they were listening. Now I could have said, let's play April in Paris, we're going to do it in the key of G. I didn't do that. I just started playing. And that tells us that, again, the whole idea of as you're improvising and playing, I go back to that listening again. Listening is just the key. Now, you also, if you all were listening carefully, you could tell that just as you would in a normal conversation, I speak, I take a breath, somebody else speaks. But no one person is doing all the talking. So even as I was playing, when I was right? So space, I remember there was an interview that was done with Wynton Kelly, who was a pianist for Miles Davis, and the reporter thought that he was being really, really astute by asking this what he thought was a very hip question. He said, Mr. Kelly, you seem to have this innate ability to just know how to accompany Miles Davis. How do you know when to play and when not to play? And Wynton Kelly said, it's simple. I look at him, and when he takes a breath, I play. It's like, I could have had a V8, So, but it's like a conversation. When you're with your friends and you're talking, and there are like 5 of my friends who are here, we're having a conversation. We listen. Where can I interject into the conversation to make the conversation strong, as opposed to was it stage 3 where you're interjecting things that it's like, where did that come from? What are you talking about? We're talking about ice cream and you're talking about Disneyland, right? So the whole idea of listening and having the ability to interject. Let's try one more thing before we go, if it's okay. I want to play again, and I'm going to leave a lot more space, and you will decide when, where, or if, because sometimes silence is just as good. It's just as important to not say anything. I was thinking about my mom and her best friend. Sometimes they would be in the kitchen, they would see each other all the time, but I would watch them together. They'd be sitting in a room together and not saying anything. Just being in each other's space was enough for them. So I'm going to play this time. I'll blow a little bit, and you all just decide when or if and who's going to kind of step in and do a little something. can hear how they were, in many ways, they're saying, yeah. Say, what you think about that? Yeah, that was pretty good, right? They're commenting on what I'm playing, and they have the option to either go with me or say something completely different, or say nothing at all of which are very acceptable. So the whole notion of as we're improvising, we're making it up at the same, instantly. I mean, we're instantly composing, for one thing, but we're all adhering to the form. We're all adhering to a given, a basic chord progression. But even within that chord progression, both Aaron and Max and Matt have the ability to sort of deviate from the given chord progression. They can use different substitutions. They can do different approaches to chord. They can do all kind of harmonic things to further tell the story.